Welcome to another TVGP Spoilercast. I'm your host, Boston, and joining me as always is Musim.
Hey.
It's been a little while since we've done one of these, but Musim and I just both finished and platinumed Horizon Forbidden West, and we thought, why not spoil it? Well, hopefully not spoil. I guess that leads directly into our first warning. We're going to spoil both games, because both of them are intrinsically linked. So if you haven't played either one of them if you haven't played both of them to completion, you should dip on right out, go play those if you can, and then come back. They're both very good, so don't worry if you want to blow through both of them, set them to story difficulty, and just kind of have a lot of fun. They're really good.
Yeah, see you guys in 150 hours if you
Yeah,
haven't played.
exactly. Yeah, double platinum, no big deal. So I feel like that goes without saying here with this being called a spoiler cast, but it never hurts to kind of reinforce that a little bit. And learning from past spoiler casts, both of us have a list of characters open here. I'll also, since it's been a while since we've done one of these, I'll also mention here at the front, this isn't really a story recap. This is more of a kind of like a debrief, an informal chat between Musim and I after this. So if you're looking for kind of a beat-by-beat story recap, this really isn't going to be that, because we're inevitably going to forget something. Because both of these games are unexpectedly way bigger than I think we were going in expecting. So, don't be angry with us. That's fair. But, we're going to forget something. Okay, so let's get started here with the beginning of this game, which starts fairly quickly after the first game. I think she mentions it's just been a couple of weeks.
I think not to disagree, I think she said it was like 6 months, because I think that was one of Varl's and Aaron's complaints, where they're like, we haven't seen you for like
for a real long time.
Yeah, like it was like 3 or 6 months or something.
Oh, okay.
Or like maybe it was Aaron that was angry at her because Varl was tracking her like half the time.
Maybe she said 6 months. In my brain I was like 6 weeks. Yep. And she's like, no, that's not the same.
Heck, maybe it was 6 weeks. Okay, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a little bit of time, but it hasn't been like 15 years later. She's not like old and gray and wizened or anything. We do the kind of interesting tutorial area with Varl, which I thought was kind of an interesting way of tackling the problem of reteaching you all of these abilities, because we don't go through a sort of a typical abilities here where you lose all your powers at the beginning or anything. But I like that they couch it in, she's giving Varl the focus and then kind of teaching him how to use it and kind of how to survive out in the wilderness, maybe a little bit better than he has been. Oh, go ahead.
I was just say, I really liked that, like it is one of those, like, oh, she just has a pouch of infinite focuses,
right.
Focus eye, whatever they are. But
right.
I liked that they finally started giving them to other characters, and Pharaoh was such a great character.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I like being reintroduced to Varl. I like the beard he has, and Aloy is like, nah, man. And I was like, no, that's working for him. All right, you're gonna disrespect your guy here, like, man. And I like that it reintroduces you to the spaceship full of rich people that left the planet. Because, like, when you fire up the game the first time, Lance Reddick comes on and it's just like, here, last time on Horizon Zero Dawn. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I forgot all of this. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And, like, they do a pretty good job of introing you to this game through the are very quick cliff notes from the first one. But I'm glad they reintroduced that, because I was like, man, I forgot this spaceship full of rich people that shockingly played a pretty major part in this game overall.
I needed this game. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I really needed everything this game did at the beginning.
Yes, ditto.
Like it, that whole intro section was probably 4 hours long, and I probably could have lived with it being 3, but I had forgotten 90% of the story and characters from the first game.
Yep.
I knew going in, I'm like, I remember this game, its gameplay beats are far different from most games, because most of your action combat encounters are like 5 or 10 minute deals. Like they are not like quick hit a few guys and move on to the next area. They are, okay, I got to scan this guy and see where his weak spots are and shoot him and get used to all these weapons and trappings.
I'm doing a lot of sneaking and stealth, and I'm hanging out in the conveniently red grass here.
That is grown everywhere. I see what you did, Sobek. No.
Right.
It's I don't know. I really enjoyed the intro. It's unfortunately like also getting into the game, there's that impatience of like you start, initially in that beginning in the original game world, or at least a section of it, or recreated. Is it Meridian? Is that the Karja capital?
Yeah.
Like you're there for a minute with the Sun King with his hat that I think he has to walk very carefully to keep on.
It looks very heavy.
And he walks with both of his arms like.
That's right. That's right. It's like the kid in A Christmas Story with his arms straight out, T-pose.
Yeah.
Like.
It's that guy's shoulders must be on fire.
Yeah.
But like, so you're kind of stuck in the old world for probably an hour, and you don't really get like that new terrain until probably 3 to 4 hours. So I feel like there is some impatience there on that. But
well, and it's interesting because I feel like Aloy's impatience sort of mirrored mine, where through the beginning couple of hours she's like, come on, like I have to go save your lives, get out of my way. Like when she gets to Chain Scrape, she's like, oh look, more people than you met. Oh yeah, I'd love to help you. Oh great, super, yeah, let's go save Chain Scrape. And I'm very much like, yeah, Aloy, yeah, all right, yeah, let's go help these dummies. Okay.
They do a great job with Aloy mimicking the player and all her mutterings and complaints and stuff. And like, yeah, I agree 100% with that. Like,
but thankfully once you get past Chain Scrape and once you meet Regala and once you do kind of that intro stuff where like the next step is Death's Door, I feel like that's the point where when you get access to the full map, I feel like once you get that freedom, Aloy is sort of like, all right, now I got the training wheels off, like I'm kind of ready to go do these things.
Yeah. I like how it also builds later, like into the story, like her impatience and not wanting to deal with everything is. I mean, we talked about this offline, a couple of weeks ago, but with a character that's introduced mid, or maybe not even mid game, but I guess we're kind of there. We're in a spoiler cast. I can say her name.
Oh yeah, we can bounce all over the place.
Like it mirrors like when Beta shows up and is exactly the same.
Aloy looks in the mirror and does not like what she sees. like we talked about it the other week, and like I was always tickled by like Aloy coming out and talking to Varl, and she's just like, Aloy's like, she is impossible. Like I don't get how you talk to her, get her to do anything, and everybody's like, oh yeah, weird. That must be really rough, Aloy. Oh gosh, yeah, I wouldn't know what that's like. Oh man,
yeah,
that was pretty good. I think it's kind of interesting that we see Regala and Sylens kind of around this same time, because Regala's the big bad guy that we run into, and Sylens has been kind of antagonizing us for a little bit, sort of through our focus. He like keeps hacking one focus after another from this like endless. We talked about this too. I feel like I didn't get the impression from the first one that there was just like this unlimited cache of focuses.
Yeah.
I didn't. I got the sense that there was like one that she had, and that was about it. Maybe there was some cutscene like near the end of the first game where she like found a cache of them or something. I genuinely don't remember. But it's kind of a bummer that you see Regala and Silence here at the beginning, especially with Silence kind of taunting you and forcing you to do stuff with Hades, and then both of them kind of disappear for almost the entire rest of the game.
Yeah.
It's odd, and especially his Silence is voiced by Lance Reddick and Regala is voiced by Angela Bassett, and both of them are great in this role, and I feel like, just like Silence with the first game, I feel like there's just not enough of him.
I absolutely adore this game, but I have like a lot of nitpicky criticisms.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this kind of feeds into one of them, and that I think this game's pacing in terms of the main overall story is not good.
Okay.
I think like you get these big story moments at the very beginning of the game and pretty much at the very end of the game that relate to the overall story. And then I think on top of that, like when you finally get the ability to fly, like it's literally at the very end of the game, and they are like, here's a bunch of side missions that you can do, and you're like, I don't want to do these right now.
Yeah, I'm like one mission away from the end. Like I want to go do that thing.
Like I thought I had just wrapped everything. Well, I mean, I didn't, because I spoiled myself accidentally on the flight thing. But
yeah, it did.
It still was like, once you reach that point anyway in the story, like there's so much pressure on what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like you really don't want to wait anyway.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's especially apparent with Death's Door, which is kind of that first big mission that they lead you to, and you get introduced to what feels like 15 different things in this mission, where it's like, oh, here's a thing that you can put Gaia into, and there's 2 of them left, conveniently. And here are the big, glowy bad guys that seem like they're from the future. And here is another clone of Elizabeth Sobek, which I feel like is a reveal that they actually, for me, did pretty well, because I feel like on paper it's like, yeah, there's another clone of Elizabeth Sobek, and she's called Beta. And I think on paper it's just like, oh my god, are you for real?
Yeah.
But I think they did it fairly well. It feels pretty good.
Yeah, when she first showed up, like, it was shocking, and I was really, I didn't think there was any way they were going to make a good story out of that, honestly. And I feel like they just did this masterful execution with making them have this sibling relationship,
right?
That I really enjoyed. I think Death's Door is like one of the best. Like, they do pile way too much on you at once, and like the real reveal of the Zeniths is like, holy crap!
What are these future people like? Look at their clothes. What are they doing here?
They're like 1,000 years old and they can fly, and this guy is obviously very excited to kill me for no reason.
Right. That was actually a pretty good fight, where you have to like shoot down that like spider data server thing that's hanging off the top of the roof. Like I kind of liked that fight quite a bit.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember if I died on it or not. I feel like it might have been. No, I won't say any names in case it's not them. I remember someone complaining online that they got stuck on that battle for a while because they kept losing. So I could see like that being a frustrating situation,
right.
But I'm pretty sure I beat it my first or second time.
Yeah, most of the boss battles like that were like that for me, where if I didn't beat it the first time, I usually nailed it the second time, and I feel like the game, it's probably more controversial than it needs to be, but I feel like the game does a really good job of just saying, like, pull out your focus and scan stuff. Oh, look at these 6 things that are highlighted. You should probably shoot them. And usually if I was stuck, I'm like, no, I need to hold R3 for just a second. Oh, look. Okay, there are the things I missed. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, there's a vent all the way up there. Okay.
Like, their hunting freaking game stuff in this is awesome. Like, I adore it. I love hiding. I love highlighting the parts. I feel like the first game I was pretty bad about scrolling through the parts and looking through things I needed. In this one, I haven't, like, side-by-side compared them, but it communicates to me visually better. Like, I assume there have been improvements and differences, and hopefully I don't sound like an idiot and they look exactly the same. But
but the highlighting, like, a piece in purple is just like, oh, those are the... Okay, now I've been shooting those things off for, 10 hours. Okay, now I know what I need to do.
What I like when you scroll over one, it's like, this is explosive if you hit it with the element. This will be destroyed if you don't knock it off their body before they die. Like, it spells everything out real well to you.
Did you play this on PS5?
Yes.
Okay. I did too, and I feel like the thing I didn't realize about playing this on PS5 with the DualSense until I finished it was how I knew I was in cover, because the controller vibrated in a different way when you were in cover. So, like, I never had to worry about, oh, am I going to be hidden from this stuff? Because my controller, like, it almost felt like it was rustling when you're walking through either like the kelp underwater or the red grass. And it's one of those really subtle things that I feel like the DualSense does really well, that I didn't even realize it until I was sort of doing stuff after the end credits.
So I noticed about halfway through the game, I don't remember who said it. Someone on some podcast I listened to mentioned, oh, this makes really good use of the DualSense. And I thought, I hadn't noticed anything. And then I started paying attention to it. And, like, it has, like, so many different vibrations that are communicating that you just kind of naturally gravitate to. Like, all the sounds that come out of the speaker's way more high quality than the PS4
like
speaker.
Whenever you pull out the glider and the speaker makes the noise too, like, it's making noises with the arrows flying out. Like, there's a lot of real cool little stuff in there that I feel like gets kind of undersold.
I feel like it adds to the immersion a lot, because you're not distracted by it. Like, because as you just said, it occurred to you at the end of the game. Like,
right. Just like, it's one of those things where I just knew that I was in cover, and I was just like, wait, I'm about to finish this game. Why do I know that I'm in cover? Because a lot of games will, like, do the vignetting around the corners of the screen or it'll put an icon up there, and it didn't have any of that. And I was just like, oh, yeah, oh, okay, yeah, all right. Death's Door is the part of the game where I stopped talking about it on the main show, and I started really loving this game, because you get Gaia in, like, one of those, it looks like a pneumatic tube you'd use at the bank. And my first idea was like, cool, you have this yellow stuff in this tube. Where the hell are you going to put it? Like what are you possibly going to do at this point? And the unveiling of the base, I thought, for me, was the swinging point where I really started falling in love with this, where you had a place to put Gaia, you had this ever-expanding base, and as we find out about over the course of the game, you're sort of starting to gather all these friends and these compatriots, which I think you probably could have had another game where it was just Aloy against the world, like the first game, but having all these people around her in the base and kind of encouraging her and kind of keeping her in check, I think made this game way better.
Yeah, I mean, they sprinkled Mass Effect in my Horizon. Like, I'm
right.
gonna love it.
It's like, even more delicious.
And I did not expect that at all. Like, I don't know, like it's a real common thing to have a base or a house in an open world game, but this is like a different, like it has a lot of the open world trappings, but it's almost like a bunch of sandbox environments mushed together in a beautiful kind of tapestry. But I loved all the extra characters. I loved them training. Like it's one of those meals where I would only enjoy more of it. Like part of me wonders if there was a version of this game where like the companions could go with you, like as you just did your normal quests.
Yeah, like you're gonna bring your party member out with you, like in an RPG.
Yeah, like I kind of wonder if it was there, and they were at some point they were like, the scope for this thing is ballooning. We got to cut somewhere.
That's right. We got to finish this thing. Like,
yeah. But it, you mentioned it before the whatever podcast we were talking before. The seeing as you get a new character, they'll bring some of their stuff with them and decorate the base.
Yeah, and they set aside their room and they put all their little stuff. Like Elend brought a bunch of like blacksmithing and metalworking stuff in his space. Like Zoe and Varl's area looked very much like kind of Zoe's village, and the Nora stuff kind of blended together. Like it added this nice touch that I think you could probably play through most of the game and like go back to the base maybe 2 or 3 times and not really care about it. But I was always going and getting one of those drones and bringing it back and being like, ooh, it's a snow area, cool, this makes this look neat. And just kind of like hearing Gaia say like, hey, I opened a new area of the base for you, and I'm like, ooh, okay, what can I do now? Oh, it's a little crafting area. Cool.
That was always really exciting. Like you're basically like after Death's Door, you get the 3 missions of go get these AIs.
Yeah.
And each one, like it's exciting to see what part of the base opens up and what weird thing you get to collect resources to kind of, mess with. Gosh, that was, and speaking of those 3 missions, like Vegas was freaking awesome.
Vegas was really good. Like that was the one I did first because somewhere along the way I had absorbed through osmosis that you get the underwater diving thing there, and I was like, oh, thank God, I just found all these underwater missions and I can't hold my breath for long enough, and there's no like upgrade in the skill tree. I need to go do that one because that's clearly a pain point for me. And that whole thing, like going under the like flooded area and draining that whole area and avoiding that giant Diplodocus or whatever kind of robot dinosaur it was, fully knowing that you're gonna have to fight this giant thing later, like. And the combination of the 3 dudes that are down there looking for the little orbs, like
I kept hoping I'd be able to bring like them back to the base, and it never happened. But like the narrator guy, like it's so good. Every time you go up to him, and he's like, "The stranger with fire hair," or, like he always.
It's like the narrator of the Diablo 2 intro, where it's like it's like. The flame-haired one approaches the storyteller. It's like, yeah, man, I do. What's up?
Man, those guys were great.
Yeah, and getting that that kind of consistent world-changing effect of them lighting all of the like the Las Vegas Strip lights after that, I thought was really great, because you see that cutscene and I'm like, that's really cool, and I'm never going to see that again. But always, even later in the game when you're flying over it and all of that stuff is still lit up, it's like, yeah, that's a really cool touch.
It's pretty great. And like there were very few things I didn't do in this game, but did you do all the racing?
I did 2 of them. I did the 2 of them for the trophy, and then I was sort of like, yeah, I'm probably okay.
So I was not a fan of it, mechanically, but the last race is at night in Las Vegas, for what it's worth.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
I don't know if it's worth you booting the game up and going back, but it was a cool feeling and a cool moment.
Yeah.
and evidently I'm supposed to remember. They do without spoiling anything. We'll just say you run into a character that's evidently from the previous game, and they try to tell you who it was. I have no idea who this character is.
Right. Like, I barely remembered Elend, and like mostly because I'm like, oh right, this guy. I don't like this guy. Like he's back. Oh, he's angry at Aloy. Like, okay, cool, man. I'm out here like saving the planet, but sure, you're being bad. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of liked. I liked how they dealt with the go get 3 things mission, because it's a classic thing in video games where it's like go do the thing and then go do 3 of them, and I like that each of the 3 areas you went to were totally different. Like you went to the desert for Vegas, you went to the snowy mountains for the Bulwark, and then you went to the jungle for that whole arena maw thing. And I liked that they were very much like, all right, it's 3,000 meters that way. Good luck. You know, like it wasn't this thing where it's like, oh, fast travel over there. It's like, no, man, like override a mount or get hoofing and like get over there and figure out what you need to do. Like she doesn't know and you don't know. And I really, even the when you go to Vegas, the tooltip is just like, yeah, man, figure out what you need to do here. And you eventually find the one building that's leaking water, and you're like, okay, it's probably that building. But I really dig that it kind of had a little bit of faith in you, the way that a lot of open world games feel like they don't.
Well, and it's especially like during that time period in the game where you can choose which main mission you want to go on. Like you get a ton of side missions, and if you've listened to us talk about it on Pup, like the side missions, like especially the ones that land in the category of side mission, are all like the same quality of production for the most part as the main story.
Yeah.
Like all the characters are heavily animated and acted, and there's always like a story with some pretty good emotional stakes to it. That sometimes play out over a couple of them. So I kind of got lost on what was a side mission, what was a main mission during those 3, because it was just a choose what you want to do.
And it really did kind of take the reins off and just say like, you know, you can do these 3 things. Those are kind of your next things to do. But we're not going to stop you from trying to get every Tallneck if you really want. You know, that go nuts. They're all walking out there. Which I'm still... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go.
Oh, I'm still a super big fan of Tallnecks. I don't know why I love them so much. These, like, tall guys are just my favorite possible thing. I felt so badly taking that one down that you have to, like... shoot all the spikes into to drag it down. I was like, I don't want to do this. And then when he got back, I was like, yes, little buddy. All right, you're fine. Like putting that one together in the cauldron was like, I hadn't gotten spoiled on that. So when you kind of turn the corner and they're like, oh, they're building a Tallneck. And I'm like, this is sick. I'm going to build a Tallneck. This is the best. Like, hell yeah.
I was pretty excited about that. That was actually the last cauldron I did because I didn't realize I hadn't done it yet.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm with you. I adore the Tallnecks. There's some like magical mystique about them, even though they're just giant and walk in a circle. But and maybe it's just that like they're one of the few, or maybe the only robot that doesn't attack you. Like
that's true. And they kind of seem like a dinosaur more than some of the other robot dinosaurs, because like you can very clearly tell, like, oh, this one's a hippo. Oh, this one's like some sort of ferret or like marmot thing. This one's like an elk. But the Tallnecks very much seem like, here's a dinosaur.
Yeah, I just forgot the word, but the one where you put one together, cauldron. That cauldron where you do that, I thought was really cleverly designed because because that's the one you can't get out of. So you get the hacks, like the information you're in the cauldron for, typically like mid to early. You get it right
away. Yep.
And then it's how do I get out? How do I put this Tallneck together? The end boss on it's just a roller back, which in terms of the large monsters, I think are much easier to fight. But also, I was level 50 when I fought it, so that
yeah. I forgot that was the cool one. She can't leave because the elevator won't start because the Tallneck is in the way and is like blocking. The whole thing is shut down because you can't complete building the Tallneck. And you just reminded me, easily one of my favorite moments in this game was putting the head on the Tallneck and activating it and riding that thing up to that elevator shaft and like seeing it open and you like leaving that cauldron super, super high up. And I was like, I love these games so much.
That was great. It's I think my only Tallneck complaint was that I was constantly concerned I had missed something because that one of the first ones you encounter in the Forbidden West is locked for basically until the second to last mission.
Yeah, for like 40 hours. And once you get the flying, I was like, oh, I probably have to go land on it. And that was the solution, which is like, okay, that's fine. And Aloy probably told me, like, I can't do this. Maybe I'll have to come back later. But like, that was a while ago.
Yeah, well, and they had a little lock symbol on the map too, which is what I just kept using to reassure myself.
Yeah. Yeah, so you go and you get all three of the things, you bring them back to Gaia. She's kind of getting stronger in like a computational sort of way every time you bring one. Like, not only is she unlocking new features and new areas in the base, but she's also, I guess, unlocking more horsepower. Let's just put it that way. So she can kind of answer more questions and look through more stuff. At some point in the game, I kind of stopped asking her a bunch of stuff about the old world because I like how much you can ask characters in this game about stuff, but too often I feel like I'll ask a question and they'll like stop halfway through and I'll have to ask the next branch of the question, and it kind of does that 3 or 4 times, and by the end I'm sort of like, okay, cool, like I sort of get what you're getting at, and we've been talking for too long. Which is kind of a bummer.
I wish they could have, it probably was the result of having the design decision of having all those characters in one single place in the map. Like, as much as I like the base, like, your main motivation for going back is either a story beat happened or you have the materials to unlock a hack,
right?
Or you're just being curious. And I think if like you had more reasons to go back there, where you could take a companion with you, then a lot of that information you could just naturally get as the game progresses.
But a lot of the stuff that you talk to your companions about is good, and it's well voice acted, it's well written, and like I usually hate in stuff when there's this like future race and they're talking about the old ones or the ancient ones or lost knowledge, and it's always like, they dressed so funny and listen to this music, and it's like dubstep or something. Like that usually grates me, but there's something so like innocent and endearing in both of these games about their knowledge of like when you give everyone their focus and they're kind of going through the archives and they're just sort of like, boy, the old ones really dressed kind of funny, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Oh, you silly guy. Like it never feels like a wink and nod sort of thing of like, oh, they don't know any better. And it's like, no, they don't know any better. This is kind of fun.
I loved all those reactions. Like, it's in a game like that, you are always dangerously close of like, let me tell you about the world you already exist in. But like the narrator guy in Vegas, like,
right.
I think it's the Halloween one, I think, where you put the Halloween decorations out at Vegas, and he's like, what kind of feast is this? Who would ever, like,
right.
He's like offended by like
the
creepiness or horror of it. He's like, we already had someone take a swing at a skull, or I can't remember what he said, but
right.
It was And Aaron like constantly listening to like punk and metal and everyone
It
being
was
annoyed
really
with him.
good. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, you kind of go through and you get all that info, and you have a good number of the kind of sub modules, the sub functions for Gaia, and she's getting better, and you sort of figure out like, all right, maybe we should go save Beta. Like where we get this mysterious signal from up in the mountains. Let's go check it out, and it turns out the Zeniths and their like horrible future spider tank robot things have sort of taken Beta up there to kind of go try and get. I think they were trying to get another sub function, and Beta has sent you some number. It was like 237 or something in her SOS message. So you go up there and you find her in like the 237th pod, and you kind of bring her back. And I kind of liked Beta overall. Number one, what's her name? Ashley Birch is such an incredible voice actor because she plays 3 characters in this. She's playing Elizabeth Sobek, Aloy, and Beta, which are ostensibly the same character, but each one of them has like their own kind of way of speaking, and they have their own personality. Skype is, for anyone watching the video version, Skype is bugging out on Musim's end, and it makes him look like he's a hologram from the game, which is very appropriate. But I kind of liked. I feel like if anyone is going to have a larger criticism of the characters in the game, Beta is probably going to be that. I liked Beta because she is the polar opposite of Aloy. She's like Aloy at the very beginning of the first game as a kid, where it's just sort of like, I'm an outcast. Beta was trained by the Zeniths in what seems to be largely VR for the majority of her life, just sort of fed information with no context. And I kind of like that the two of them are different, where Aloy's like, I just need you to suck it up and get this stuff done so we can save the planet. Does nobody understand what I'm trying to do here? And having Beta sort of being like, yeah, I can help you, but like, I'm not really going to be the trusting sort, I thought was done really well.
She very much like did not believe they had. Gosh, like when you first get her back to the base and she's like, you don't even have all the cores for Gaia, and just flips out.
Yeah, she's like, you're way more behind than I thought. And I'm like, I got 3 of them. Is that bad? I thought I went through a lot, man.
Yeah, she freaked out, but like it's effectively what a difference even one parent can make in a child's life,
right.
Like kind of reflection in a story,
right?
Which I thought was real fascinating. And I really liked how they healed their relationship towards the end too.
With what's his name? Aloy's mentor that I always forget the name of.
Rust.
Yes, yeah. I like that they. I also really like, and it like unlocked some memory in my brain when they started playing it, where Beta found the like "Happy Birthday, My Little Man" video, like the hologram video from the first one.
Oh.
And as soon as she watched that, I was like, oh my god, I forgot that was like such an important part of that first game of like, here's her kind of safety, like her comfort, her safety blanket sort of thing. And I was just like, oh man, like that's a wild thing for my brain to dredge up after 5 years or whatever.
Gosh, on that point, like it's also like an interesting, because like Aloy, like in that aspect, was not particularly happy with her upbringing with Frost, and like half of this game, that was kind of in the background and subtly there, and then towards the end they talk about it a little bit more prominently. But like, it is kind of like, here are these people who are raised in entirely different conditions.
Right.
And they both think they have it kind of the worst. And like,
Right.
really, Beta was raised the worst, and she was raised by a bunch of 1,000-year-old freaking maniacs.
Right.
But gosh, I'm amazed she's as functional as she was.
Yeah. But to your point, I really like that Aloy was able to say, like, I like the message of, like, you're strong because you have people around you that rely on you. You know, like, these people need you, and these people need you to do the thing that only you can do, which is why I need you so we can capture Hephaestus. And it's like, yeah, I know it's scary. Like, it's scaring the hell out of me too. But we need to save the planet, and Hephaestus is kind of an important part of that.
Yeah.
I think that's... I like that Aloy, throughout the entire game, kind of softened the whole time. In a way that I feel like is genuine kind of character growth.
It's, I know I criticized the pacing earlier. I think that part was paced very well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that seemed very, very natural and expansive as it happened. And as she met the different cultures that were based around the different oddities of the old world,
right.
Like, it was interesting seeing her, like, kind of learn and adapt and respect some of them and disrespect others,
Man, speaking of the different tribes and their weird oddities, let's talk about the Pharaoh's Tomb mission. Because when you go and you do the one in the greenhouse, you meet up with Alva, who I think is a really great new character. She might be my favorite out of all of them. Mostly because she's just so positive that she's like, oh yeah, it's Aloy. Like, this is great. Knowledge. Hooray. But I like when she leaves, she's like, don't come to San Francisco. It's going to be real bad. I really need you to not do it. And then, like, maybe an hour later, Aloy's like, well, I guess I got to go. Where you have to go there to do the Pharaoh's Tomb mission, which, until someone had uttered it out loud, I hadn't gotten the kind of double entendre with the Pharaoh's Tomb thing. And obviously sort of reinforced when you get in there. But meeting the CEO, the CEO of the area, and him very much being a Silicon Valley CEO, he's like the worst character in this entire game, and it's so good.
It's I sold that outfit.
Yeah. I don't want that outfit in my inventory anymore.
Man, that was a crazy mission. It's like, hey, you thought Ted Pharaoh was evil. We're gonna find a way to make him even more evil.
Yeah, and all these people that worship him.
Yes,
I do like I find it interesting that how they kind of sold. Because throughout the game, Aloy is always saying, like, Elizabeth Prime Alpha Override, and at some point she's like, well, I need something better. I need Ted Pharaoh's Omega Override, which is like, okay, sure. Like, that's an interesting way of addressing it, but okay. But I kind of liked that whole mission. I kind of liked finding out that Ted Pharaoh is way worse than we thought originally. Like, he put all those... He was a little squiffy about, did he or did one of his sycophants put all those little off switches in everybody's brains?
It was the doctor.
Okay.
There are a couple audio entries, because as you're going through that, you'll find audio entries. I forget the doctor's name, but
yeah, I don't remember.
The daughter basically uncovers it, and she's like, you put off switches in everyone's brain?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's like, that's kind of the worst.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, man? I do like it. It was fairly easy to get the Omega Override. I kind of liked the unveiling that Ted Pharaoh is still alive and has turned into some sort of, like, horrible monster that's connected to the reactor in this forever running reactor, because he was doing these experiments about he wants to live forever, because of course he did. He wanted to live forever, and to tamp down the mutations, I'll just hang out near the reactor. It's like, oh, okay, cool. That'll turn out well. I kind of like that they didn't show him, because I feel like you take a real risk of trying to figure out, how do I make this guy look horrible and scary without him looking kind of like a joke. And I feel like the best way of doing it is having everyone, including the CO, turn the corner and be like, nope, I don't, nope, burn it to the ground. It's got to go.
Yeah, I was, in that moment, like, I was curious, like, I kind of suspected they weren't going to show it. Like, I wasn't sure, and then they didn't, and that didn't bother me too much. It probably was the right decision, because, like, ultimately, like, screw that character.
Right.
And, he, what was I going to say? I really like that they didn't make him. I was worried it was going to turn out he was a Zenith or something like that. And
sure, or like they were going to try and give him some redemptive arc, and they were just like, no, he's way worse than you thought. He was real bad in the first one, and here he goes. He's even worse. It's like, yeah, all right. It's okay to hate Ted Pharaoh. He's the worst. It's okay to hate Ted Pharaoh, and it's okay to hate that, like, Southern programmer guy that was working.
Oh gosh.
Oh, dude, he's the worst. Like, when you find Gaia at the very beginning and he pops in and be like, haha, got you, sucker, middle fingers. It's like, dude, for real? Come on.
I thought he was going to pop up a lot more with how, like, like, he was in that first hour or two of that game a lot.
And
then luckily disappeared. But,
so we get the Omega Override, and you and Beta figure out, all right, both of us are gonna go make a containment unit for Hephaestus, and Hephaestus is really the one you want, because that's the one that's making the machines. So if you can turn the machines back to your side, that can greatly accelerate fixing the world. And Hephaestus is kind of jumping all over the kind of the network, essentially, that's kind of connecting the world. And you kind of figured out how to make a lure and trap him there and kind of take him back and reintegrate him into Gaia. But you have to bring Gaia with you, which obviously you can see from a mile away is going to backfire, but sure.
Well, and they build your confidence too, because so far everything is, for the most part, gone your way. Like, like, there have not been any upsets. Like,
Zenith can't find you. Like, they can't track you because Gaia is hiding you. Like, everything will be fine. You have a plan with these, like, little flares about, like, we're everywhere all at once, man. That, of course, doesn't work at all. But I kind of like this mission, because I like the idea of everybody fanning out to the different places to go do their individual different things, and both Aloy and Beta becoming more comfortable in their roles. And I especially like, as Aloy is kind of out, Hephaestus breaks out early and is kind of escaping to portions of this cauldron you're in. I really like that Aloy is out there, like, flushing him out by shutting areas down, and Beta keeps calling Aloy saying, like, hey, I have this problem, what do you think I can do? And Aloy, she's like fighting a robot crocodile, is just like, oh, maybe you should use this part from this machine to patch this other thing. And they're like, oh yeah. And I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. Like, they're becoming a team. They're knowing what they're doing. Like, I kind of dig this. And then when you trap Hephaestus, boy, wouldn't you know it, it all goes wrong, because the 3 Zeniths pop in, and they've been tracking you the whole time because your thing didn't work. And in probably the thing I have the biggest problem with in this game, they kill Varl, which feels like it didn't need to happen because you kind of hated the Zeniths to begin with.
Like, I feel like everyone would have known to retreat at that point, like, to a degree.
Right.
But also, like, they kind of, like, the retreat would have to be, we're going to cave this in and run as fast as we can, and hopefully they don't track us. But also, they evidently knew where we were the entire time.
Right.
Like,
they just, like, didn't want to bother with us yet. Like, they were busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bummer. Like, the moment I saw him, you realize he was going to square up against Eric. Like, crap. They're going to... Like, Eric is the character you just want to murder every time he shows up. He is... He's like... Gosh, I don't know who to compare him to. He reminds me of the freaking military guy in Avatar.
Yeah, he does very much play off like this big bruiser, you know? Like, he's just there to, like, punch people and use his cool, like, gold, purple shooting gauntlet things.
He's got the, like, the white, like, buzz cut, but it's the really, like, 50s-ish buzz cut that just you've seen every jerk in every movie.
That's right.
40 years now.
Right.
So it does not help his case. But that sucked. Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of all goes wrong all at once because they steal Beta, they kill Varl, they take Gaia, who has sort of absorbed the Hephaestus already, and they kind of escape with everything we've worked on, and then Tilda, who is the one Zenith wearing the white clothes, sort of turns on the rest of them and gets Aloy out of there. Also, didn't notice who her voice actor was. It sounded super familiar. It's Carrie-Anne Moss, who does a really good job in this game, which is it's really good. There's a lot that kind of happens here. We find out that she kind of Tilda makes breakfast for Aloy in her, like, hidden chateau. And we find out that the Zeniths aren't, like, they're not the descendants of the people that went on the Far Zenith ship. They are the people that went on the ship 1,000 years ago. It didn't blow up out in space. They just lied to kind of cover up their tracks. And Tilda, in sort of a cagey way, says that there was a geological incident that made them leave, and only a couple of them made it back to the ship. So we find out that, and she sort of says, like, we need to go rescue Beta, destroy all the Zeniths, and we need to go get all that stuff back. And this is the part where I think it's like the last mission or the second to last mission where things go really fast, and I like everyone storming that base.
Well, real quick, before we get to that part, on the conversation, so there were a few things I really liked here. Like, the art conversations I liked. I did not realize you could click on them more than once till I got to the stairs, and Tilda was like, we could still talk about art more if you want. And then you go back, and you can click on each piece 4 or 5 times, which was a odd design choice in my opinion. But it lets you get to know kind of Tilda and kind of the lens she sees the world through. And then when you go to have breakfast, like, Tilda is trying to convince Aloy to sit down, and Aloy won't sit down. Right. And finally, Aloy sits down. You ask Tilda a question, and she gets up and starts pacing.
Right.
And that was a fun irony to me. I think I, I really enjoy all the conversation stuff that happens there. I
Yeah.
wish they could have found a way to broke that up in between. Uh, I don't know. I guess there's probably not a world where you've Tilda in your base for a few missions that you can just go talk to and get some of that info.
Yeah, because it feels like a real info dump kind of all at once.
It's a lot. And like, it's, oh, guess what? That Eric guy, like, he used to just sit in VRs and kill people all the time.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
I think that's also the conversation where you uncover that, or maybe it's later, where you uncover that Tilda and Elizabeth Sobek they used to date.
Yeah, because that was like right at the. I feel like that's kind of this conversation and kind of the last one where, Tilda very much says like, "I made this mistake 1,000 years ago, and I'm not doing it again. You're going to come with me."
Yeah.
Yeah. So she sees Aloy as kind of like the perfect version of Elizabeth.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the only things I really wanted to mention about that conversation. And then when you. Gosh, we didn't even talk about, I forgot his name. Where's the list? the King Emperor guy of the, whatever the heck this tribe is called, the Banuk? No, not the Banuk. Kotaro? Is that his name?
The
guy that Angela Bassett wants to kill. Hekaro?
Hekaro. Yeah. Yeah, totally forgot about him. The one that wants to bring all the tribes together and get all his marshals back and open the arena and all that.
Yeah, I thought that was a neat kind of story with him and I'm only pulling up Angela Bassett in my head. It's Regala.
Regala, yeah.
But they, I mean, it was. Oh no, it was before you go to Gemini, isn't it? Where you do the Wings of the Ten mission, or was it after?
It was either right after or right before. Like they're kind of back to back in some order. Yeah, because you learn how to fly. No, it's after, because Beta, when she hacks Gemini, she floats the little gunwing over to you, and you get the knowledge of how to override them.
Right, and that's when you find out Silent's plan, where he was using Regala to amass an army, kill Hekaro.
Yep.
I'll get there. and Aloy's like, yeah, we could do this with killing way less people. And
yeah, because Silence is essentially, we find out later, he's looking to get off planet because he knows what's actually coming after he sort of broke Hades open in the very, very early part of the game. And he says, well, the piece that I have on the chessboard is Regala and her fanaticism. So I can teach her how to override machines, and I will use them to crash against the Zeniths. They'll probably all kill each other, and then I can get off planet. And I think there's a good conversation with them later. But yeah, you're right. I totally forgot. You get the option of killing or sparing Regala at the end, which is really not a choice I was expecting to be able to make, because I thought it would be like, look, man, you've been driving me nuts this entire game. I'm just going to kill you. Or like Hekaro is going to kill her, or saying, something about the clans and the marshals. I decided to spare her. What did you do?
Yeah, I basically Googled it.
Okay.
And I saw a non-spoiler comment that was basically like, you get a weapon that may not be as good as the ones you have if you kill her, and you get a cool cutscene if you leave her alive. And I was very happy I left her alive. I thought those were...
Was the cutscene you got like her final stand at the... Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was a cool cutscene. Yeah.
We also get to talk to her at the base and ask her a bunch of questions, which...
Yeah, like, I kind of like the character arc they had with her, which was just like, yeah, man, like you spared me and I appreciate that, but you spared me for a better fight and I want to go do it. It's like, all
Yeah.
right, yeah, man, all right, I can respect that. But I kind of made the choice that I felt was right, which was sort of like, you have been manipulated by Silence pretty clearly at that point. So I feel like your your anger and your ambition is maybe kind of pointed in the wrong direction. So like let's use that as a weapon to kind of point at the Zeniths. Um, and you also talk to Silence at some point, and he says like, yeah, I have a weapon to like I have refined the weapon that takes down the shields on the Zeniths. So you know, I guess I can come with you. I'll need to do it myself, obviously. It's like, of course, Silence, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that leads directly into you storming the Zenith base, which is on a part of the map I had not been to at that point, and I like very much that you like turn the corner to go to that campfire, and it's there and it's huge. It's just like,
Yeah.
this secret base over here, like
Yeah.
the only non-decrepit building in this entire United States. They're probably not in there. Like,
It's
yeah.
man, so I found that shoreline where you could kind of look on their weird spaceship base from a
Mm-hmm.
distance, like fairly early once the Forbidden West area had opened.
Right.
And so like right after I was able to breathe underwater, I'm like, well, screw it, I'm just gonna swim out there.
Yeah.
But they have currents that prevent you from going over there, like once you get about
Gotcha.
halfway through to the water.
Gotcha.
So I that last mission was freaking awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned Mass Effect. This felt for me very much like the end of Mass Effect 2, where it's like,
Yeah,
all right, we have been building to this for the entire like 30 something hours plus that you've been playing this game. Let's go do it. And I like that everybody has their own little job to do. Your job with Beta was kind of kept secret for a little bit, mostly to keep it away from Tilda. So I like that you're kind of busting in this base and killing a bunch of Zenith things. Um, all I really, really, really like the scene where Beta dumps Hephaestus into the manufacturing interface in the Zenith base, and now she's just making like thunder
yeah,
jaws, and I was like, this is incredible. This is so
yeah,
cool. And I like the game too was just like, I guess that means Hephaestus is probably back in the network. Wink. And I was like, okay, that's
yeah.
fine. You're still making machines after you dump me back in the world at the end of the game. That's fine. But I the fight I had the game on story difficulty at this point because I was sort of like, all right, I need to not die in any of these boss battles. I'm just kind of having fun and using my bow and arrow through these. So the fight with Eric was a very short endeavor. You do get that really cool scene with Regala where she just, I like that she takes down one of those robot things by herself with no problem. I was just like, hell yeah, Regala,
Yeah,
let's go. And then like
yeah.
8 of them jump her. So
Honestly, like when you fight Regala, like in that previous match, like that's one of the harder battles in the game, or at least
yeah,
it was for
it's
me. Like,
intense. Yeah.
um, she's tough, and it's cool because like as you're infiltrating the island with uh Aaron or whatever his name is, like
Hmm.
you have Regala and you have
Like Zoe is over
Silence,
there
and
too.
yeah, they're
Yep.
kind of on the cliffs and giving you cover. Like you walk into an area and you'll see one, you're like, okay, I got to fight this one, and they're like, no, we got this, and you're like,
That's right.
cool.
And like
Uh,
Zoe insulting them, just saying like, "You're not even worth my time." It's like, yeah, man, let's go, my team.
yeah, man, I
Um,
I really love the characters in this game. Like
yeah,
all your party characters you get were great, and
yep,
like it sucks, people like Silence and Regala weren't in it more, but like Zoe was fantastic, Varl was fantastic. Like, I honestly don't remember Aaron from the first game. He looks familiar, but I don't remember enough to associate a personality. So like,
yeah, ditto.
Once he got over being a sad drunk dude and got into, I'm gonna be the big dumb guy that's gonna learn this.
Yeah.
I enjoyed him quite a bit, and I think I'm with you in that Alva, like, she's such a ray of light.
Like, yeah, she's just so positive when most people aren't.
Yeah. And she comes from a fun culture, but anyway, so
you kill Eric. Well, sorry, Zoe kills Eric by stabbing him, which is like, that was pretty well earned.
Yeah.
And you go all the way to the top of the tower where Beta is. You save Beta, and Tilda kills... oh, God, what's the other...
I don't remember his name. Like, you barely
Gerard.
see him.
Gerard, the bald one. She kills Gerard in, like, the most unceremonious way, which is really great. And then we really find the truth behind both of these games, which is the Zeniths made a big mistake. When they went to the other planet they went to, they got too interested in immortality, and they weren't just happy having physical immortality. They wanted to have their consciousness uploaded to some sort of system that they could then live forever inside that system. But it didn't really work out, and they kind of shelved the project, and then the project gained sentience sort of behind their back, and really hated the Zeniths for it. And they made mention that, like, it destroyed all of them in a matter of hours, because it had all their codes and fingerprints and, like, all their kind of insider information. So I get the impression that the Zeniths you fought at the end of this game were the only ones that survived from that planet. They came back to Earth, and I'm seeing a lot of people sort of misunderstanding the end of this game. They came back to Earth to get Gaia, and they were lying about terraforming Earth. They're getting Gaia and all the subfunctions so they can terraform the next planet that they escaped to. Because they were saying, like, we're going to come here to Earth, we're going to get Gaia and all the subfunctions, all of Elizabeth Sobek's work, which you kind of find in this conversation that Tilda knows about, because Tilda and Elizabeth worked together closely and were somehow romantically linked. And by doing that, then they were going to tell Nemesis, which is this squiggly red evil thing that's chasing them, that, oh, we're on Earth, oh no, what are you going to do? And they were going to, like, silently slip off to another solar system and then kind of terraform there. Because the big thing that they're scared of is Nemesis is going to come here, it's going to follow us to the ends of the solar system, it's going to kill us. It tried to kill us by hacking Hades. And that's the true nature of the mysterious signal that they've been talking about for the last two games.
Yeah.
That was kind of the ultimate cause of that, was Nemesis saying, like, all right, man, like, you're going to escape to Earth. That's cool. I'll just kill the Earth. Great. Like, I don't really care. So you eventually fight and kill Tilda, because, of course, you're going to have to. And you find along the way, I don't think it was this conversation, it might have been a little bit earlier, find out that they have an intact copy of the Apollo database on the Zenith ship in orbit, which is, like, one of the key parts of Gaia. I think they addressed it fairly early on in the first game, which is like, this is the database of all human knowledge. And you're kind of chasing Apollo down throughout this game and finding out, this person has like a partial copy. Oh, this version is corrupted. The Southern hacker guy deleted it over here. Like, you never find an intact one. So you find out that they have one, and you kill Tilda, and Hey Silence is there and says, all right, cool, well, I'm going to go to space, so bye. This is my ultimate goal. I don't really care what happens. I'm going to ask you if you'd like to go to space with me, Aloy, because it seems like we could do some cool stuff together. I like his line of like, but unlike other people, I'm not going to demand that you do it. Aloy says, no, I have the power of friendship. And Silence is like, all right, man, cool. I don't really care. Bye. And it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go, off to space, live the rest of my life up there. And in I guess kind of a surprising, maybe disappointing, but maybe not for future games move, Silence decides not to go off into space because Aloy is having so much fun with her friends, which I want to see more of Silence, and especially with him being on the team, that's good. I want more Lance Reddick in everything because he's great. But I think character-wise, it's maybe not 100% where I thought that was going to go. But I liked that he was very much like, you people, I can't do a Lance Reddick impression, but you people are clearly going to need my help. And it's like, all right, there he is. That's still Silence.
Yeah. Well, he just put off going to space,
Mm-hmm.
And they, they show Gaia with like, I can't remember how many cores, but they show her just missing 2 cores at the end when they power
which
her up.
is more than I had remembered, because I had forgotten that the Zeniths were out gathering their own set of cores. Like, we were getting 3 of them, and then Hephaestus, and they said that they got 3 or so. Like Artemis, Alothea, and one of the others, Demeter maybe. Like, they had gone off and they had gotten their own, and they're like, oh, you got 3 of them, cute. We got 3 of them too, so now we'll have a whole bunch when we take yours. Peace. We made more progress in this game than I was expecting, because I was expecting us to just get those 3 cores and they'd be like, all right, see you in the 3rd game, bye. But like you said, by the end, and they're only missing 2, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, we did some stuff.
Like, honestly, when the game started and you find out about, I feel like you find out about Hephaestus early on. Like, I assumed this game would be, we're going to get exactly 1 more core.
Yeah, or like we get Gaia and, start setting stuff back up, and then credits.
Yeah. This is clearly aimed, I think, to be a trilogy.
I would, based on the ending of this game, if they're gonna make it more than 3 games, I feel like I might be a little bit bummed, because I feel like the next game seems to be, we have 2 cores, we know where one of them is, like above us in space, kind of one of the more important ones. I don't remember what the last core is at all. I would have to look it up. But you have to imagine that the last game is sort of like, we're going to recover those last 2 ones, we're going to fight Nemesis, prepare and fight Nemesis somehow, and then I'm assuming once that big bad is kind of taken care of, then start the arduous work of kind of repairing the Earth, and I'm assuming a fully repaired Earth is like the ending of the 3rd game.
Yeah, like that's what I'd expect too. Like, I kind of think you'll go to Alva's homeland, wherever that is.
Right.
Europe? I don't know.
I don't remember. Something like that.
Because they arrived in San Francisco, like.
Yeah.
So are they in Japan or China? I'm bad at geography.
Yeah, I don't remember. They had very, very clearly said, like, yeah, we're escaping here from somewhere else, but we can't go back there anymore. And they there was also someone, the Ted Pharaoh guy that was dealing with his mutations was also like, oh, if I just had my base back in Beijing or somewhere like that, and I was like, yeah, I want to hear a little bit more about what's happening in this world other than like, here's Las Vegas and San Francisco. You know, like we have such a small area of the world. Like I don't want a million spin-off games, but I want people to sort of talk a little bit more about what's going on.
Yeah. Well, and I was honestly, after the first game, I was surprised they even were like, here are the ruins of named places that you know.
Right.
I thought they were going to steer clear of that stuff.
Yeah.
And having holographic representation of what Vegas looked like was even way further than I thought we'd get.
Yeah.
But I liked the ending in that it was like, there is a little tiny bit of me that's disappointed that we got a cliffhanger, but I liked the beats it hit at the end. I liked finding out about Tilda. I liked finding out, oh, these, like, the Zeniths want you to think they are more competent than they are.
Right.
So I liked that extra layer of, oh, no, they were actually just stupid and kind of created their own destruction.
Right. They were just, like exceedingly selfish.
Yeah. Gosh, and man, that fight scene, like, you have all the Zeniths standing there, like, what are you guys going to do? And you take down their shields. Oh, that's a
really good
game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for me, I kind of see this ending. I know someone is going to roll their eyes at this, but I feel like this is very much the Empire Strikes Back ending, where it's like, yeah, we kind of won. We're maybe not in a great spot. Like, yeah, most people made it through, but, you know, we clearly have something else on the horizon. We're kind of licking our wounds, and we're kind of preparing for sentient virus thing we're supposed to fight somehow.
Magic Space Cloud. They're doing Fantastic Four 2. No.
That's right. That's right. That's the longest tie-in. But I kind of like that it's, to me, it's not really a cliffhanger. It's more like, all right, we have addressed this big problem, but boy, the actual problem is way bigger, and it's really coming very quickly. So we got to figure this whole thing out. I kind of like that, and I'm glad that I don't want to talk about it too much, but I'm glad that I waited until finishing the game before I went and did like the 3 missions for the 3 main people, your 3 main sort of characters, like the Zoe's mission and Alva's mission, stuff like that. Because they are located back, instead of in the base, they're located in their respective towns, kind of helping run stuff. And each person you run into that has a mission, they're all like, hey man, like, show Aloy some respect. This is the lady who defeated Regala and her crew. And I was like, what? Really? Yeah, what? That's cool. And even, I think it was Zoe or Alva was like, you know, we should still do this because, it was Alva with the Leviathan project. She's like, I think this information can really help us in our fight against Nemesis. And I was just like, wow, really? Okay, you guys thought of everything. Jeez. Okay, cool.
I gotta load that game back up and go talk to him. Like,
yeah.
I think I did. Like, I think I only had like 1 or 2 missions left, and they weren't any of the main cast. It was just random stuff. Like, I think the only things I didn't complete in this game is I realized at like the second to last mission, I hadn't gotten all the drones. Like, I was missing 2 of them. I think those missions, and then I didn't. I got tired of leveling up my weapons and grinding for that stuff, so I kind of just got 1 level, I think, on my my favorite orange bow, and 1 level on my favorite orange armor, and called it
a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a sucker for both of these games. I don't know what it is about these games that just 100% clicks with me, but I was going into this game with fairly high expectations after the first one being so well polished and so well done, especially from everyone, including myself, will say, oh, the story of the first one was so good, like, you should go play it. And everyone's like, I mean, it wasn't that good compared to, like, and it's like, no, for a video game story, it was well told, it was well paced, it was well executed, like, there were a couple of big aha moments, it explained all of its world in a way that makes sense. And that extended to this one, too, where it's just sort of like, there are a couple of minor stumbles here in this one. And I feel like a lot of criticism from people online is not understanding that Tilda lied to you. Here is the truth at the end. But even with my high expectations going into this, I think it blew me out of the water. Like, I really loved it. It's another one where I platinumed it. If I feel like firing it back up, I have plenty of other like side missions and things to do. I could always sort of poke around in there. As soon as they announce the DLC and it comes out, I will 100% pick it up and play it if they do so. I wish more people could play these games because I think they're really great, and I think most people will really enjoy them.
It's I know that, like, from what I've gathered, like, because there's a little bit more pushback on this game than I was expecting, and I had to just kind of, I just had to come to terms. Like, I've lived a lot of my life, like, reading criticisms and stuff of games, and I don't think I'm at that place mentally anymore to kind of continue digesting,
or at least not like well-intentioned criticisms.
Yeah. I think people get mad at a game because they want their game to sell better or whatnot, and like, there's room in the world for all these things, man.
Yeah.
Like, I adored this game. I was super excited for it. I got the stupid expensive version that came with like this cool trimmer tusk that lights up.
Yeah.
It came with a focus where you press the button and it glows blue and makes a little noise. It has like a little tiny Aloy that came with the trimmer tusk.
Oh, that's great. I'm very much going to be buying that Tallneck Lego as soon as it gets sold on May 1st, which I'm definitely counting down my days to, because as we talked about before, I love those big guys.
Yeah.
They're my favorite.
I bet that thing's going to be pretty fun to put together. I'm hoping Target gets it, and like I don't have to just straight up order it on the Lego store, but
sure, yeah.
My Lego friends tell me that Target usually gets a lot of that stuff.
Oh, nice.
But I love this game. Like, there are like little nitpicks I could give to it, but I'm with you. I adored the first one. I thought the story and elements, whatever issues I might have had with the main story pacing, I still thought the main story was freaking phenomenal. Like, it was light years beyond anything I was expecting. Like, they could have just made that first game in the new engine with the new environments and a couple new enemies, and I probably would have been happy. But like, this is far and beyond what I expected. But I've had to acknowledge that this game is not for everyone, but I suspect if you've listened to this whole episode that it's for you too.
Right. I hope. Like, or you're just kind of curious about, like, what is going on with these robot dinosaurs. It's like, well, let me tell you. 1,000 years ago. No.
It constantly, like, blows my mind that, like, someone's like, let's make a video game about killing robot dinosaurs. And you're like, yeah, that sounds really cool for a video game. Mm-hmm. And then they put this epic story onto it that works, like, and if someone summarized that in a couple paragraphs on paper, it would sound so stupid.
Right. It's like, humanity died out 1,000 years ago and you're the clone of a scientist. Let's go. And it's like, no. What? No, thank you.
Like, I feel bad for anyone that their first experience with the Horizon world and the recap is getting it recapped to them in the first 2 to 4 hours of this game. Like,
yeah, because it's just like, space is what this Bluetooth thing on your face. Like, that's why I've been telling everyone, like, if you're gonna go play these games, you have to play the first one first. Put it on story difficulty and just blow through it. Like, don't worry about doing everything. Then do everything in the second one.
Yeah, like that first game, like, if you just do the main story, like, it's probably only 20 or 30 hours,
At most, yeah. Yeah. These games are real good. I couldn't be happier that this one is really good. I'm very happy I was able to speak to another person that's playing this game, so we can talk about stuff after Death's Door, because the base is really cool, and I can't wait for the third one, and I hope it. My selfish hope is that it comes a little bit faster than this one did, but if we continue to get the kind of graphical and gameplay and story quality we got out of this one and the next one, I will wait another 5 or whatever years. Like that's fine by me. No big problem.
Fingers crossed. We're at the beginning of the PS5's life. Yep. They have the engine, and they won't have to make the next one for PS4. Like
that's right. Yep. Yeah.
Like I probably do need a year or so break, and hopefully they do give us a cool DLC. But gosh, and I know we talked about it on Pup, and I don't think we talked about it in this episode, but the amount of feedback you get from Aloy as you traverse around, like the game, like it prevents you from wasting so much time. You're like, how do I solve this relic runes? Aloy's like, I don't think I have what I need to access this yet, or something.
Yeah, it's like, great, peace.
Yeah.
I'm out.
You fall down and she complains, and you're like, I was going to say that.
Right. I'm sorry, I forgot to deploy the glider. My bad. All right. Well, thank you, Musim, for joining me here for this Spoilercast. I appreciate it.
Heck yeah, this was a blast, man.
Yeah. And thank you very much, everyone, for listening and watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.